Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode number 30. Welcome to the podcast for the Becoming Elli community. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jill. If this is your first podcast with us, you may be wondering who Elli is.
Elli was the Norse goddess of aging.
Right, and she beat Thor in a wrestling match. Most people have heard of Thor, but only a few have heard about Elli.
Sometimes women over 50 are underestimated or overlooked when it comes to being physically capable. Jill and I created the Becoming Elli community for women like us who are working on being fit and strong.
We encourage and inspire each other. Having strength, endurance, flexibility, balance, and all of the things that go into being fit is very empowering.
We also focus on food, healthy eating, and nutrition.
In our podcasts, we interview nutritionists, personal trainers, and other experts to learn more about how to improve health and fitness. In fact, our website, becomingelli.com, has over 170 free articles, as well as other resources like our fitness food ebook for downloading.
We also have a Facebook group and other social media where you can connect with us. Today, we'll be talking with a cycling instructor who has been teaching 3 or 4 spinning classes a week for about 10 years at the gym where I work out. Sherry Chylsta loves athletics, and although she's given up long-distance running, she enjoys no-impact workouts like spinning because she knows it is something that can be enjoyed for a lifetime. She's a certified spinning instructor who enjoys making classes challenging and fun. In her words, I get to teach spinning.
In her professional life, Sherry is the Director of Studies at Western Reserve Academy, a boarding school in Hudson, Ohio. She also teaches college-level calculus and is the head volleyball coach. During her tenure at the academy, she has coached track, girls basketball, and a winter conditioning and weight training program.
I'm really looking forward to this because I've taken Sherry's classes for years. Let's go to the podcast. Welcome, Sherry Chylsta.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You're coaching volleyball.
Right. I'm the head volleyball coach. I've coached volleyball since I've been there for 25 years. And I coached track for about 10 years. And I coached C-squad basketball once, which was for a lot of girls who did not love basketball, didn't really like athletics. And it was just teaching them how to have fun on the court and how to understand the meaning of team. And then I also have done conditioning programs for kids who need to meet that requirement but want to do it not through an interscholastic sport but a different way. So weight training and running, lots of fun things. Wow. Fun to me, not so fun for them, I think, at times.
Right. But so these are all high school age
Yes.
kids. Is there an overlap between spinning instruction for adults and coaching teenagers?
Oh, there definitely is. We are all little kids inside. And I think part of it is just remembering that we all want to be there to have fun. And so if you can make hard work fun, both for kids and for adults, then you win. It's a success for everyone. So I also think the years of coaching track where we had those workouts I planned with ladders and with pyramids, trying to get the sprinters doing different things, I'd bring those same concepts to the spinning class as well. So we'll build up and then we'll build back down with time. A lot of my workouts are based on time intervals, and then other ones are based on what the song feels like you should be doing so that you can sort of put your mind somewhere else and let the music pedal for you.
Right. Okay. Have you always been an athlete?
No, I think I was a pretty uncoordinated kid. It took me a while to really see myself as an athlete. I did play volleyball back in middle school. I've always been active, loved riding my bike outside as a kid, but I was not an athlete really in high school and growing up. It was later in life when I found a true love of the sport. And when my husband and I first got married, I played volleyball by that time 5 nights a week. So He was studying for the bar exam and I was out playing volleyball, so it worked out well. And then after my daughter was born, I discovered that it was hard to go to those league nights in volleyball and get 6 people together to play in a gym. And so that's when I started running more often. And I ran miles and would run for hours and feel a little bit sad that it was time to go home after even a 2-hour run because I just loved being out there so much. And I think that's when I realized it's not about being the fastest one. It's not about being the winner of the race. It's about completing the race and pushing yourself and getting a little bit stronger every time that you're out there and going an extra 10 paces even when I used to run big hills in our backyard at the Academy's cross-country course.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I know spinning's really fun with you as the instructor. In fact, it sounds like a carnival ride when we first start. You always start out with TGIS.
TGIS.
So
yes.
You have this thing memorized, I'm sure. What do you say at the beginning of each class?
Before we get started, I don't know if I can say it without the bike in front of me. Before we get started, make sure your handlebars and seat posts are securely locked and fastened into place. Tuck away any loose shoelaces, and remember, if you do come unclipped or unfastened during the ride, that red resistance knob is also your emergency brake. Just push it down, it'll stop your pedals, and you can rejoin us when you're ready.
She says that at the beginning every time. It reminds me of the fun of an amusement park. I don't know.
Keep your hands.
Yeah, keep your hands. It's like a ride. Yeah.
And that's what TGIS is?
Thank goodness I'm spinning.
Oh, okay.
Now, the people who take my class only on Saturday, they think the S is Saturday, and they come during the week, and they think I'm confused.
Oh, okay.
And then they figure it out.
Okay. So you've taught indoor cycling for a long time. What's the secret that keeps your riders coming back time after time?
I think it's that, when I first started spinning, I did not like it. I was a runner. I had run, as I just said, for miles and miles, and it was my favorite. But injury and all the wear and tear on my body told me it was time to do something else. So I started spinning, and I just didn't like that bike to nowhere. And then I found some different instructors, and that's what you should do. If you don't like your instructor, find the one that's right for you. And I found other ones that sort of played music that I found sort of more entertaining, sort of took my mind away from the strain I was putting on my body in that room. And so I guess having been through that transition of this is not fun to this is fun, when I started teaching, I thought, I need to make sure for them it's a good workout. What made me love this? Because I went from not liking it at all to really loving it. So when I think about spinning, I think no one wants to go spinning, but everyone wants to have been spinning. So I try to play music that pedals for you and break the workout down into little pieces. So you don't have to walk in and think, I have to ride a bike to nowhere for 60 minutes. You walk in and you think, I can do 1 minute. I can do this warm up. I can do the next 30 seconds. I can play one more song. Oh, that's a good song. Yeah, I can stay a little longer. And little by little, you talk yourself through it, and suddenly the hour's gone. And that's what I hope happens in my class.
Okay, so that sort of answers a question that I have asked repeatedly to people, and that is, why is the music so loud in spinning classes? And I think you just maybe sort of answered that. Right?
So the music shouldn't be that loud. It should be loud enough that's motivating, that it can help you zone out, but it should not blast.
Okay.
During the spinning classes, you talk about aerobic and anaerobic levels. And can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. An aerobic workout is my favorite. It's when I used to go for that 2-hour run. How can I keep my body going and working hard for 2 hours? Well, it's this moderate work effort. It's where you're just breaking breath, but you can sustain it for long term. So it means with oxygen, you just keep going. Anaerobic is when you're sprinting. It's not sustainable. It's this workout that you can do for just little bursts of time, but you burn more calories when you do it. So there are lots of advantages to an aerobic workout. And in fact, you can increase speed without doing speed workouts. Just aerobic alone will help that. So if you come in and you just sustain steady work effort for 60 minutes, you're going to burn almost as many calories as you will when you have those really intense workouts, but you're going to be burning fat for fuel first. And what's cool about it is that if you go over that limit to the anaerobic, and you will stop burning fats for fuel first, and you don't go back. So there's your motivation on those days. And you really should do this on a regular basis. You can build up. You burn almost as many calories, and you burn the fat first. And you can sustain it for a lot longer. And when the workout is over, you're not exhausted. You still have energy. I find that I have more energy after I've done that kind of a workout than when I've done an anaerobic workout.
And just to follow up, when you say about you're burning fat, and once you go over that and you're in anaerobic, you can't go back. What do you mean you can't go back?
I mean, it takes quite a while for your body to sort of reset so that your body stops burning. Once you go over that limit, you start burning sugars and carbs, things that need to be replaced. So if you stay aerobic, you'll keep burning those fats for fuels, and you train your body to do that all the time. But once you move to the next level, your body's burning those sugars and those carbs, and it takes some amount of rest, and I can't tell you how long that is exactly, before your body starts again and sort of resets and is ready to start burning the fat as you begin that workout again.
So if you were doing the intervals or moving back and forth between your speeds, once you go into burning the sugars, and you slow down, your body does not kick back to burning the fat.
Right. Unfortunately, it does not.
Okay.
But there is a plus on the other side. You're going to burn more calories. Like I said, these are the ones that need to be replaced, but you're going to burn more calories, and that afterburn will last longer. So my favorite is those 20-second sprints, because you can sustain maximum effort for 20 seconds, short recovery, do it again, and we'll do 5 or 6 of those in a row sometimes. But then you get this nice endorphin release later, and you'll have burned more calories during that window, and then you continue to burn them longer after the workout.
So would you recommend switching those up, so rather than always doing the aerobic exercise, to occasionally to switch? So like if this week I'm doing everything at that low rate so that I'm burning fat, but I should throw in something occasionally that does the anaerobic.
Well, I think mixing it up is always important. And we could talk about the importance of cross-training and muscle confusion and things like that. But really what they encourage, if you're training for like a specific race, you should start with a big window of maybe 6 weeks where all you do is the endurance training. Everything stays aerobic. And as you do that, you're building that endurance. You're still building strength as you do it. And then gradually move to focusing on strength. And then from there, pick it up and build towards those interval rides and build up to like the race day at the end. They call it periodicity, when you build up like through that pattern.
Okay. All right.
And it seems like when you do some of the classes, we go anaerobic at the end of the class.
Right. I try to build it up.
That's how it seems. I don't know if that's true.
I try to make it so that our warm-up starts out, it stays aerobic. So we start out sort of fat burning every time. It's sort of like that, what I just described that we should do long-term, I sort of put into every hour's workout. And then after we've been aerobic, we're warmed up, we break a sweat, and I always say, okay, that should be enough to break a sweat, get your heart rate up. Now we're going to bring it down so we can do it all over again. And then the next set of intervals usually involve hill climbs. We do resistance loading, which I think is the coolest thing. The idea that I walk in at the beginning of a spinning class and I feel like it's pretty hard to pedal. I feel like I have a lot of resistance on and I think I'm working hard. And the next thing you know, 15 or 20 minutes have passed and I've turned that knob so many more times, and it sort of feels like the same effort. Your muscles adapt and they adjust, and as they get warmed up, they can take so much more resistance. So we call that resistance loading, and we keep building, and we get up to whatever maximum hill we're going to climb, and then we mix it up and we back up and we release that tension, and then suddenly we put those fast twitch muscles to work and we start doing a whole different set of muscle groups and a whole different benefit for your body. And it mixes it up again, keeps your mind somewhere else so you're not tired of climbing that hill. We break it into those little pieces, and then we end with my favorite, those little sprints that take you home with some endorphins so you'll come back again.
Oh, I didn't know it was so calculated.
She's very calculated, very shrewd, strategic.
If someone is new to spinning and starting out in an indoor cycling class, do you have any tips for them?
I do. I think it can be really hard and intimidating to come to a spinning class. And I'm sorry, I don't want it to be.
Right.
So my first advice is come early, meet the instructor, get set up on the bike. It seems like, how hard can this be? You're riding an indoor bike. But you want to make sure the settings are correct because you don't want to get injured. You actually can get injured if you ride it at the wrong settings. So let the instructor set you up. Let them make you feel comfortable so that you can be introduced to people as you come in. Hopefully they will tell you, you can always make this your own ride. You never have to do what I say, but you should listen to your body. And for new people, you shouldn't feel obligated to go the whole hour. If you need to get up, take a break, and come back. One of the things I always say is you don't have to do what I say, you just have to have fun and come back. And I focus on that, come back the next time. And after your first ride, some people have a hard time not listening to the instructor. They feel like they have to do what they're told and they want to keep up with the person next to them. So sometimes I'll say to them, come late. Come first early so that you get set up and you know what your settings are. But then next time come late, because you can always do a shorter ride by coming late. But sometimes if you want to leave early, you're not comfortable doing that. So know yourself and know what's best for you. That's really important after injury, too. If you're coming back and recovering, it's hard to leave when you know you should if you're used to staying for the whole ride.
Right.
In the different spinning classes, you talk about going through transitions. And I interpret that to mean the different positions that you're in on the bicycle. And I was wondering if you can kind of describe the different positions for someone who's never been or not sure what they are.
Well, the great thing about the spinning bike is that it imitates climbing a big steep hill outside when you would have to stand up and leave your saddle. You can't do that on a regular recumbent bike. So that's third position. Second position, you're standing straight up, sort of a jogging motion, although your feet are still pedaling rather than elongating that stride. And then seated is the first position. And even when you're seated, there's a little bit of variety in which muscle groups you're using. If you're sprinting and moving as fast as you can, you're going to lean forward in your saddle. And if you're climbing a heavier hill, you want to back up a little bit more. It's just a way to give yourself more support as you pedal through the different resistance. So first, second, and third position. And then my favorite is called jumping, which is when you transition. That's what you're referring to, from seated to standing, either based on time. Every 30 seconds, we're going to stand up or sit down, or maybe counting pedal strokes. And I like counting pedal strokes because I make sure that I alternate which leg is doing the work. Sort of like when you go upstairs, as you climb a single step, one leg carries your weight up that step or holds your weight as you go back down. And so you think of one leg holding all your work and then alternating to the other side so that you make sure that you strengthen both sides equally.
Staying balanced is always a challenge.
Yeah. So how do those positions translate to riding a bike outside? Yeah.
Well, what's really important is when you're inside, you need it to feel like you would outside. One of the things I see people doing wrong inside is they'll take all the resistance off and just pedal as fast as they possibly can. And what they don't realize is there's really no physical anatomical benefit to that. All they're going to do is sort of bang up their joints a little bit. The muscles aren't engaged. You're not getting stronger. You will raise your heart rate because you're working, but there's really no benefit to that. So I always say, if you wouldn't do it outside, don't do it inside. You want to make sure you have enough resistance so that you want it to feel like you're on a bike outside. You wouldn't ride down a hill with no resistance, and you don't do that inside either. So you add enough so it feels like it's real. When you want a really steep hill and it gets so heavy that you can't stay in your saddle anymore, just like outside, you get out of your seat and you push a little harder and you stand up and climb up that hill.
Do you ride outside?
Not as much as I'd like to. My outdoor riding has consisted in the past mostly of children in a trailer behind me as I pull them back and forth. And one thing I noticed the first year I started spinning, there was a hill on a trail that I always had to get off my bike and push it up. And then I started spinning. And the next year I went on the same trail with kids that were a year older, 2 of them back there. And I didn't need to stop. I could push up that hill and make it because I was so much stronger from the indoor cycling.
Yeah, that's a good measure.
Well, if you want to ride outside and you want to increase your speed, a few years ago, the winner of the Tour de France, I read that his average RPMs was 97. 97's not that fast, but it's fast, but it's not something you don't do every day when you come to spin class for a while. And so you have to do 2 things. You have to build cadence and you have to build resistance to build your speed. So if you just work on one without the other, you're not going to have the benefit. So what we want to do is we want to push that cadence, get those fast twitch muscles going, and then gradually add the resistance. And as you get stronger, you can add more and more and sustain. Okay. My class is for people like us who just want to stay in shape. I want to be fit. I want to stay fit. I want to get going. It's not for people who want to be on the road and win races. If that's your goal, you need to
Tour de France people.
I am definitely not. If that's your goal, you need to hold much longer. You need to hold that's consistent pace for 4, 5, 6 minutes consistently. You'll almost never hear me say, okay, flat road, 6 minutes, pick it up, because I want it to go by. This is for people who just want to stay fit.
Well, because you're doing a class for a group of people, if I said I want to do a long distance race or something, I would be I would need to
Then
go.
I'd say, okay, we're going to have to work on your turnover. We're going to have to work on your strength. We do them separately, and then we do them together. So you want to find that perfect combination of resistance and cadence to maximize your speed. Same as when you're running. You want to have turnover, but if there's a hill, you have to be able to balance that. So if you start with a pace that you can maintain, a fast cadence with a lot of resistance, and as you get tired, you gradually take off a little resistance and a little resistance, you can do that cadence training to get that quicker turnover. At the same time, we do resistance loading so that we learn to take more resistance, and we get both of those muscle groups working together.
Okay.
You mentioned fast twitch and slow twitch, and I'm not really sure. I sort of know what that is, but can you explain a little bit more about the...
Well, all of your muscles are made up of two types of fibers. Type 1, I like to call the slow twitch muscles, and type 2 we refer to as the fast twitch muscles. So while all of your muscle groups are comprised of both, the question is which muscle fiber are you building and using at any given time? So if you're doing a heavy climb, you're using those slow twitch muscles, and if you're doing something fast and explosive, it's those fast twitch muscles, but they can't sustain that activity for very long.
Okay.
So we want to build both of those so that we can maximize our efforts. What's really cool is that you can do only endurance or aerobic rides and still get faster. So you're still going to increase your speed just by doing that endurance ride and that using only those slow twitch muscle fibers.
Okay. All right. So when it's time to recover, your heart rate should come back down. How fast should that happen? And how can you tell what your heart rate is if you don't wear a heart rate monitor?
Okay, well, it's a little bit different for everyone. You bring up something that is really important. We have lots of goals when we're out there. The main goal is we want to be fit. You want to get started, you want to get strong, you want to build endurance, and you don't want to get injured. These are our, sort of our priorities.
Right.
You want to make sure that you avoid anything that's not helpful. If it's not helpful, it could be harmful. So don't do anything that's going to cause you an injury. And with the heart rate, you have to be able to bring your heart rate down. And if you can't, then it's not helpful. I always say in class, if you get to a point where you can't bring your heart rate down to an aerobic level, you're done. You can sit there and stay aerobic for the rest of the class with this moderate effort, but don't go anaerobic again. There's no longer any benefit for it. Things that bring your heart rate down are inhaling through your nose. The warm air activates a relaxation response that will help bring your heart rate down unless you've exhausted yourself to the point where you can't. So that's a sign that you can't. And without a heart rate monitor, how do you know you're fully recovered and ready to go again? Close your mouth. If you can breathe through your nose, you're back to the aerobic level and you're ready to start again and bring your heart rate up and go hard. If you have a heart rate monitor, taking a deep breath should bring your heart rate down 10 numbers. Just from wherever you were down maybe 10 numbers, and then you know, okay, I'm recovering as I should, everything's fine, and I'm going to be ready to go back to work in a moment. You also don't necessarily have to be completely recovered. A lot of times on these hard interval days, you want to bring your heart rate up, bring it down a little bit, bring it up higher than before, down a little bit more, sort of like you're climbing Mount Everest and you never stay at the highest level. You always go back to base camp and then up a little bit more and back down again.
Okay. All right. Is there a rate that's normal for a 50-plus-year-old woman? Or how do we gauge what's too high, what's normal?
How you feel is the most important thing. Generally, 180 minus your age, so for 130 maybe, is the typical aerobic level, where if you go 180 minus your age, you generally can sustain that. It's about 75% of your maximum, but I just find that to be a really good place to start. Now, as you get in better shape, you might find, oh, I have the heart rate of a younger person. I used to do my subtraction and then decide what my real age was. So if you want to lie about your age, this is how you earn it.
Okay. All right.
I like that. Earn it.
That's right.
One thing that I always worry about is my joints. When you're turning the knob to make a harder resistance, sometimes I worry I might be engaging my joints too much, or if I don't do enough, it might not be good for my joints. Can you talk a little bit about joints, and especially on the bicycle?
Yeah, absolutely. Injury occurs anytime we ask our body to do something it's not able to do physically. So one of the things I tell my beginners when they first come in is if you cannot push 60 RPMs, that doesn't mean you have to push 60, but you should be able to. If you cannot push 60 RPMs, you have too much resistance on. So if there's too much resistance and your muscles can't handle it, it's going to force the resistance onto your knees and your joints, and it's too much. Basically, the way to tell how much to have is you have to be able to push 60 RPMs. Every now and then I'll choose a slower cadence than that, 55, but I know that at maximum effort I can hit 60. And if the instructor is saying add and you're at 60 and you can't go any faster, they are not talking to you. You have to remember that. You're in a class with a lot of people and you don't have to follow every instruction. You do have to listen to your body because it's always right.
What about standing? Is standing good for your joints when you're bike riding?
Standing is really interesting because one of the reasons I stopped running is because I needed no impact. So when I stand up, it sort of mimics that running motion and I love it and I want impact free. When people start to get tired, their instinct is to take off resistance and make it easier. Oh, this feels so much better. But what they're really doing is they're taking away the no impact benefit. You'll see people bouncing on the bike a little bit. And when you see that little bit of a bounce, it's no longer a smooth turnover. They've taken away that benefit of it being no impact. So it is better to just slow your cadence down and make sure you have enough resistance to support your weight. That pedal stroke has to be perfectly round. If you feel a hard up and down, then you are making it an impact ride and losing one of the great benefits of indoor cycling.
Good. That's helpful.
Can you tell us a little bit about stretching and warming up before and cooling down after?
The thing about stretching is I just see it as waking up my muscles, telling them it's time to go to work. With spinning, we usually stretch our upper body first, and yet we keep it light and loose throughout the entire ride. So we do not usually stretch our lower body. The warm-up comes through active motion, and we warm it up with that kinesthetic warm-up where we're moving and we're pedaling faster and faster. And then at the end, that's where I find stretching the lower body is important, especially when you've had those big hill climbs and those sprints. Everything you do when you work your muscle is contracting it. So all the hard work that you do is contraction, constantly contracting your muscles. It doesn't have another gear. It's always contracting. So stretching is like an elastic rubber band, pulling it back out. Stretching it allows you to sort of undo all that tightness that you've done so that your muscles can better heal. And at the end of the workout, if you do have sore muscles, that's okay. Make sure you know the difference between injury and just a little sore muscle. But sore muscles are when you've torn just little bits of tissue through those heavy hill climbs and those extra sprints, and what grows back will be stronger. So in order to grow and get stronger, you actually have to tear a little bit of tissue. So that's okay.
Okay. And so if a person, so you were talking about people leaving early. If you leave early and you miss that cool down and stretching, is that harmful to you or?
Well, I find it at this age, it feels a lot better if you allow your body to have that extra time to stretch.
Okay.
I'm not sure how detrimental it is to your health overall, but it sure feels better if you do it.
Once or twice isn't going to be a problem.
Right.
But it's better to do it.
And aerobically, you don't want to have sudden stops. That's something that's important. A lot of times when we've done a lot of sprinting, we're seated and it was a really hard push, I'll immediately make them stand up. And then I'll say, okay, running recovery, stand here, because I don't want you to go from that all-out effort to sudden stop. Your lungs need to be expanded, which is why I'll sometimes have you stand up, or we'll stretch and take an extra breath in between, because your lungs are just like little sponges or balloons, and if you smash them, they can't get all the oxygen that they need. And so we want to make sure, after all that hard work, that we don't suddenly stop.
Okay, all right.
When you're teaching your class, you have things that I call Sherry-isms. And you said a couple of them. One thing that you say all the time is you can do anything for 1 minute, which is always encouraging. But you also change the words to songs sometimes. And you have this one song where you're trying to get us to do things where we're up and then we're down and we're up and we're down. And I don't know, the music kind of makes it move along. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, are there any songs that stick out in your mind that you particularly like to have in the class because they match spinning?
Oh, I think every song that I hear, I listen to it and I think, what does my body want to do to this? Because I don't want to go counter to the music. I want it to work with us. And I think I've gotten pretty good at that. Probably the hand clap song. I probably overplay it. But I just love, at the beginning, it feels like we're seated, and then we stand up and it's a little jog. And then we had big hills and we climb, and it keeps going through all three positions, and I just feel like that's what the music wants us to do. And the one you're talking about, Katy Perry's Hot and Cold.
That's the one, yeah.
When it was out and it was popular, I never thought of this. We would just jog and run to the chorus and we'd be seated in between. And then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun when she says you're up and you're down, if we really were? And so we added up and down, and then in and out became second and third position because it made sense. And then more recently, we've made the entire course. We're moving all the time, so I call it Zumba on the bike.
That's what I'm always thinking. This is like Zumba, only I'm not very good at Zumba, so it's probably the most challenging song in the class, but not from a workout standpoint, from a movement, just being coordinated.
But again, it's that muscle confusion. But
Right.
it's the same thing with your mind. You have to, you put it somewhere else, and all of a sudden you're focused on do what, move where, and you're not thinking, wow, I just spent another 3 minutes working hard, building a sweat, didn't even think about it.
Right.
What are your favorites? What else?
Well, I like that one song where you would make us turn the knob every time it said more.
Oh, the song is called More. I think it's by Usher, and we do. Every time he says more, we add a little bit more until we can't stay seated, and we take it out to climbing, and we still add more until that's just all we can do. And then usually we follow that with something using those fast twitch muscle fibers.
Yeah.
Okay, so what besides spinning do you do to stay fit? Or is spinning enough? Or?
Well, I still love running. I just have to be really careful because I'm a little bit injury prone. I try to limit it to running on the beach is my absolute favorite thing.
Ooh,
Whenever
okay.
we go on vacation, it's understood that Mom will have her running time first thing every morning. So I still love that. And now as I'm getting older, once you get a little bit older, the female body, unfortunately, starts building fat. It stores fat, but it does. Your body stores fat and loses muscle, so it's much harder. So now's the time when this age strength is sort of the new cardio. So I can do a lot of that on the bike. I like using the elliptical because I am a cardio junkie, but then I can make my arms work a little bit more,
Right.
where spinning just works your lower body.
Right, okay.
When you're seated, you're working more your quads. When you're standing, you're working more your glutes. And so you're mixing that up a little bit. And then your body's really warmed up by that time. You've done that resistance loading. And so when it is time to sprint, I can stand more resistance. And I don't even realize how much more I've put on. In fact, sometimes after I time the sprint and I stop that full effort, my pedals completely stop. I realize that, I can't make them go again because they've stopped because it was so much intensity. And then leaving after that really hard work and just knowing that I've got nothing left. I've left it all on the bike, which health-wise isn't necessary. You don't have to do those really hard sprints to get the great health benefits, but somehow it just makes me feel good, so I do it anyway. So that's my favorite.
Cool.
What's yours?
Oh, I'm never even sure what ride we're doing when we're in there. The thing that makes it for me is the music, without a doubt. If the music speaks to me and I can make my body match how fast or slow, that really makes a difference to me. And, of course, a good instructor. I should have said that first.
Well, no, I think the music's everything.
You're falling down on the job there, Chris.
Yeah, I know.
Well, given the choice, I would take the good music because you can always make it your own ride. So.
Right.
Well, music, so I have these headphones now that I love, but they're the bone convection.
They're outside of your ear.
They don't go in your ear. They're not earbuds. They sit
Oh.
in front of your ear on like that bone, the cheekbone. And so you can listen to your music, but still hear what's going on around you. So someone gave them to me because it was driving him crazy that I would go outside and run with earbuds in, and he felt that was unsafe, that you should be able to be aware of people coming up behind you, and which is true on the bike trail and stuff. It is helpful to hear bikes and things. But anyway, I love these headphones, and so I've been wearing them all the time. And when I go out and run or ride a bike or whatever, having that music
makes a big difference.
Yeah,
Doesn't it?
I noticed I was just even running inside. I was sort of like bouncing around to whatever I was
Put them on
listening
for
to.
everything, the house, everything, right?
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah, but it is amazing how, independent of class or anything, but music can really...
it motivates. It moves you.
Yeah.
Literally.
And then I did... This is sort of getting us straight, but YouTube has all those videos of people, of races and fitness things. I listen to what the professionally done ones do, like on the triathlons and things, what they use in their music in the background, because it's always very inspirational. And I've started, if you listen to it and then you Google it, you can find it, download it, and play it. And it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a good way to make a great playlist, isn't it?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You just find some really inspirational music.
Yeah,
Nice.
Dancing with the Stars and America's Got Talent.
Oh, that would work too.
I listen to theirs
Yes.
too.
Yes. So now to completely change the subject, how do you eat? Are you super healthy food conscious? Do you have a certain way of eating?
Well, it's funny you asked that. First, I'll tell you that the last time I went to the doctor for, my annual health review, the nurse said, "Oh, she's the one. Come in here." And they called me the LeBron James of good cholesterol. My cholesterol is over 200, but I'm never supposed to worry about it because nobody ever has good cholesterol like this. It's off the charts. Part of it's being a female. Part of it's being a vegetarian. I eat meat occasionally, but mostly I eat a plant-based diet. And then the other thing is that cardio. I'm such a cardio junkie that really makes a big difference. When I learned that, I said, great, I can keep eating French fries. And they all said, what? You eat French fries? So truth be told, potatoes are my favorite food, and I eat them almost every day in some form or another. But I am conscious of making sure that I do eat a plant-based diet, also a lot of chocolate.
Okay, well, that is plant-based too. Chocolate is a plant.
I'd love to tell you I eat this super healthy diet, but...
Well, say on a given day, what does your meal plan look like? Like certain things for breakfast, certain things for lunch, pack lunch?
Let's see. Well, after I go spinning on Saturday mornings, I teach 2 hours, 2 classes back to back. And when I get home, my husband has made me a beautiful salad. It's serving bowl size salad, and I eat every bite of it. It's delicious. And then later throughout the day, I actually love to snack on cherry tomatoes. That's my favorite food. Baked potatoes are really something I love. And then I do eat those Morningstar Farms packaged vegetarian fake meat options so that I make sure I get my protein.
Sure. So do you have any tips that would be a certain healthy eating tip that you'd be willing to share?
Yeah, don't deprive yourself. I think everything in moderation. Life is short, so enjoy it. If there's something you want to eat, just eat it, but don't go don't go to excess. Just make sure that you're getting all the nutrients that you need, and then allow yourself those snacks too.
Yeah, I love baked potatoes, so. So how do you define fit? In your opinion, how would you define fit for women over 50?
I think it's all about activity, and I think you need to be able to do anything you want to do. Your fitness should never hold you back from any activity that you want to do. So I make sure stairs, yes, you want them, lots. I always rather take the stairs. It's an easy way to just stay active, and you get to the top and you're breathing a little bit heavy and you know you've done something right. I always say I love sore muscles because they told me, again, you're tearing tissue, you're building strength. Sore muscles tell me I did something right today. So I'm always happy when that happens. So for basically anyone 50 and over, if you haven't started an exercise program, that's okay. You can be active. You can go for a walk. You can take the stairs. You can stretch. That's something that's really important, especially as you get older, because your muscles' elasticity is lesser. And don't let the people that are in shape intimidate you, because everyone started somewhere.
That's very true.
That is very true. And I am not going to a spinning class right now, but I know the first time I ever went to one, and I did go early, and I got the bike set up, and all that was great. And that class, I thought I was going to die. It was so hard. But then I was like, and the instructor said, you do not do everything I say. She said, don't do that. You just, but even so, it was hard. But then, you just keep going, and suddenly what you made me think I was going to die, I was doing without even thinking about it. So that's good advice.
I think that's the challenge with just about any group exercise program, because they always train to the person who is the most fit in the room.
Or maybe the middle person.
Well, or higher than but definitely not to the beginner or the first timer,
But that's what I love about spinning, is you can have an 80-year-old woman and a 25-year-old man right next to each other following the same instructions, but still doing what's right for them, and both getting an excellent workout with all the same cues.
And not really being able to tell that they're doing different things.
Right. That's the other thing I would say to new people.
What resistance
no one's
they
watching
have.
you. They're focused on what they're doing. When I say add resistance, sometimes I subtract. It's okay. I realize that I've made it too heavy for myself. My knees are starting to ache. I take a little turn to the left instead of to the right. No one's watching. No one's worried about that.
Right.
So focus on that when you come in. And, when I first started spinning, I was running half marathons. And spinning killed me anyway. It's different.
It's a different muscle groups.
Yeah, so don't
really is.
don't think it's because I'm out of shape. No, it's because it's different. You're just not there yet. It's not that you can't do it. It's that you can't do it yet. But tomorrow you could do 2 more minutes. And the next day you can do 2 more minutes than that.
Right. That's
a good way to think of it.
Yeah.
Well, Sherry, we do something here that's called the lightning round. And I think we're ready for it, don't you, Jill?
I would say.
Okay, so the way the lightning round works, we will ask you some questions, and they're usually short answers, one way or the other, and you can expand on it if you want to. Zumba or Pilates?
Neither.
Neither. I can see by the look on your face.
Okay. Well, I'm going this one. Bike, run, or swim?
Run.
Okay.
Definitely run. If my body could just not get injured by all that impact.
Broccoli or cauliflower?
Cauliflower.
Yeah, me too. I love cauliflower.
Vegan or paleo?
Vegan.
Gym or park?
Park. I would much rather be outside. Although I've come to love spinning, I would much rather be outside.
Eggs or oatmeal?
Egg whites. Is that fair?
Sure, that's fine. Egg whites, okay.
Treadmill, Stairmaster, or elliptical?
Elliptical. Yeah, it used to be treadmill. I used to love the treadmill, but it's more elliptical now because I need to work my upper body too.
Okay.
Right, yeah, okay. Wine or beer?
Wine.
Kettlebell or dumbbell?
Kettlebell.
Quinoa or rice?
Rice.
Okay.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea. Cinnamon spice. Hot cinnamon spice.
Hot cinnamon spice. Okay.
Nice. Bread, yes or no?
Oh, yes. Remember, you're not supposed to deprive yourself. Everything in moderation.
So if you could give your 30-year-old self some advice, what would that be?
I think just don't be afraid to try new things. And it's okay to think of yourself as an athlete when you become really active. I was on vacation once and I said, I'm not really an athlete. I'm starting to run and I've been running 10Ks. And he looked at me and he said, if you can run 10Ks, you're an athlete just because you can finish it. And I realized at one point how high in the national percentile ranking I would be, compared to how sedentary most of our population is, that I guess I am athletic. And it's okay, especially for girls. They don't want to call themselves an athlete very freely. And so it's one of the lessons I've tried to teach the girls that I coach. You're an athlete. Treat yourself as one. Take care of your body because it's the way, it's your tool to all this fun that you're going to have and this health. So be an athlete, know that you are one, and just embrace it from the beginning.
That's good advice.
Yeah, that's great.
If anyone has questions for you or would like to get more information, they should contact Chris or me.
There you go.
And we will forward the email to you or we'll track you down.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I learned a lot. Gave me a lot to think about.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
One thing that I especially like about having Sherry as a spinning instructor is that she's very encouraging to everyone. She helps new riders overcome the feelings of intimidation by reminding them that everyone had a first workout, and even those experienced riders didn't start out knowing everything.
Yeah, I remember my first class, and she's absolutely right that that's an intimidating moment. And one thing I did like was she talked about using music to move you forward. One of my questions has always been, why is the music so loud in spinning class? So she sort of explained the role of music and that it doesn't have to be so loud that you can't hear anything. So I really liked that.
Right. By doing spinning classes, I prepare for my outdoor biking and the longer endurance rides. And I'm really looking forward to riding outside soon, but it isn't warm enough quite yet for me to get out there and, battle the winds and everything. I think it's about 25 degrees today.
Well, so here in Ohio, the winter weather is slowly clearing up, but we've got a ways to go. I did sign up for a 5K called Hop for Hope, which is an annual race that I have been doing for I don't know, 3 or 4, 5 years now, something like that. The last time I did a 10K, but this year I went back to the 5. So I think I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun. And last week I did the indoor triathlon at my gym, and I'm glad that was inside because it, as you said, it's still cold out. But that was a lot of fun. It was a lot more fun than I was expecting. I was nervous about it. I didn't really think I'd be able to finish, but I did. I actually did better than I thought I might. So it was fun, and I really enjoyed it, and it was sort of a nice kickoff to non-winter activities.
Well, I'll tell you, I enjoyed going to watch you and cheer you on. It really inspired me to get out and, really get more involved. And I've thought about going swimming about 4 times since last weekend when I saw you do the triathlon, although I have yet to put on the bathing suit.
The biggest problem, so I'll tell you, the biggest problem with swimming is that you have to put on a bathing suit and you have to get wet. And I don't know what it is about that whole mental thing about, and it's weird because once I'm in the pool, you're in the pool. It's not a big deal, but there is something about that whole thought of,
right.
Yeah. So, and I think when we talked with Diane at our end of year podcast, she said she wanted to go swimming, but she just hates putting on the bathing suit and getting wet.
Right. Well, I know even with workouts, one of the hardest things is getting to the gym.
That's true.
Or eating right, trying to get started. It can be one of the hardest things. And I've seen some changes in my eating habits with the veggie challenge because I'm making a point of doing more vegetables, and it's really kind of fun. I don't know. I love vegetables to start with. It's been a good thing for me this past winter and beginning of spring here.
I agree. I'm enjoying the veggie challenge. There's a couple of things I have observed about it. One is I tend to already have been eating a fair number of vegetables, so the unusual ones that are new, because we're either doing a new vegetable or a new recipe, and if I find a new vegetable, my observation is they tend to be sort of the quirky ones, and they are more expensive. There's a reason why I've never been eating them, I think. But but you're right. I am enjoying it, and it is sort of fun to even just roam through the produce section at the store and wonder, what am I going to do for the challenge this week? And I am enjoying it. It's been fun.
Right. Right. Well, I've definitely expanded beyond carrots and celery.
Yes. And, we did have that talk before about having the 3 cups of raw vegetables and trying to sort of mix that up every day or, periodically I'm enjoying that too, just chopping up a bunch of vegetables and eating them with hummus or whatever, or just eating them.
Yes. Yeah. No, I like that too. Thanks so much for listening.
See you next time.
Talk to you soon. Our next podcast is coming up in 2 weeks.